All right, Texas, K-State this weekend. Huge matchup for Texas. I've been kind of looking at the different advantages for each of these squads in this game, and man, it is really split. I think you made a great point about how Texas has been battle tested, but K-State has not really been battle tested. But I think it's gonna come down to how Malik performs because everything else there's just so many advantages on each side for either one. K State has the quarterback advantage. There's no question. They got two of them. And Texas now has to split time to try to prep on defense for both of these quarterbacks. And by the way, dual threat quarterback, as Coach Coach Sanders said yesterday. I mean, it's probably the best cheat code in all of football on offense. There's not a better cheat code than a dual threat quarterback that can turn a broken play or turn a dead play into an explosive one. That's what dual threat quarterbacks do, second reaction plays. So essentially, not only do you have to prep for two quarterbacks, but you have to, when they are deciding to extend the play or when it's a broken play, they have second reaction plays, you literally have to defend two plays at the same time. That's what a dual threat quarterback forces you to do. K-State, I think, they may have the head coaching advantage considering Chris Kleiman's already a championship level coach. They run the three high, three down defense, which I've talked about against Texas. Sark's offenses have underachieved, right? They seem to, they're less effective. They seem to be less effective, less explosive, and less productive versus three high, three down defenses. Texas' biggest strength on defense is their interior D line. T'Vondre Sweat playing like the best D tackle in the country. Byron Murphy also a top 10 D tackle based by Pro Football Focus grades. But the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size, but is they'll be going against the best interior O-line they face. Cooper Beebe is a guy that's going to end up playing on Sundays. You got a top 3 red zone touchdown defense in K-State going up against Texas, who's one of the worst red zone touchdown offenses in all of college football. Texas, on the other hand, playing at home. That's a huge advantage for them. Texas easily the more talented roster. There's no question about that. Texas has better players at almost every position except for quarterback and interior O-line and maybe punter and maybe head coach. But those are really important areas, right? But Texas better wide receivers, better tackles, better running back, better tight ends, better D tackles, better D ends, better linebackers, better cornerbacks, maybe safety they have Texas on. Maybe safety, you can throw that out there too. The K-State may have an advantage there if you're just breaking down the matchups. But Texas has an overwhelming talent advantage, in my opinion. And Sark has beaten and outcoached Chris Kleiman twice already. Outcoached him in 2021 by just running the damn Wildcat with Rojo and winning that game, and outcoached him last season because I think that's the year K-State should have won this game because they were playing at home. They had a really talented team with Deuce Vaughn and Felix Anudike Uzoma and Julius Brents, and they had two quarterbacks, a veteran Adrian Martinez and Will Howard, and yet at home they still couldn't find a way to beat Texas, with Texas having a young, inexperienced quarterback in Quinn Ewers. So this is the year actually where Texas has the advantage. It's just now with the backup quarterback, I wonder if K-State could flip the odds in their favor. But man, you start breaking it down in all these different ways, and Texas matches up well because Texas is the best rush defense they face, top 15 rush defense, but they're a top 5 rushing offense. They're a top 4 third down offense, and Texas is a top 3 third down defense. It is really evenly matched, and I'm starting to think it's going to be the margin for error, and it's going to be just a game of inches is where this game is going to be decided, which explains why the line keep shrinking.
Yeah, it's down towards, it started at 8.5, 9, and that's down to 3.5, 4, depending on what you're getting. But you just said something I think is spot on. The K-State team, K-State won the Big 12 last year. K-State won the conference, right? They went in and beat TCU in that great game in the Big 12 championship game. They were a really good team with a bunch of NFL players that are no longer there, and first-round draft pick NFL players. And Deuce Vaughn would have been a first-round draft pick if he were 3 inches taller than he is, right? We know what type of talent he was.
Seriously.
And Texas won that game. And I don't say they won it easily, but they won that game physically and did it with a young quarterback. So having them back here on your home field, coming off an impressive win, and the thing I really like is just the tenor of Sark this week. I think he's been really intentional with these guys. He challenged them on Monday because he didn't, the BYU game for him physicality-wise still wasn't what they want. I think Texas's offensive line would admit that too at times against BYU, and they still won that game 35-6. But it could have been 50-6 if you go back and watch that game. That's what Sark is challenging these guys to do, to rally around your backup quarterback, all three phases. They scored a punt return touchdown last week. The defense held BYU to 2 field goals, and they could have run up a big number had they been able to score inside the 5-yard line. We know that. But, that inside the 5-yard line continues to be the blinking strobe light of a problem for the Longhorns. But I still feel pretty good about it because, remember, they beat them that year last year, and then they turned around and got beat by TCU in that big game on that Saturday night that the Longhorns just played their worst game of the year. But the K-State game, big picture, may have been their best game of the year. To go in there on the road and beat the Big 12 champions on their field with those guys you talked about. So I think Sark and his team have to feel pretty confident that they can, if their quarterback plays not a great game, he's got to play a clean game and take care of that football and, just get the ball to where it needs to be. If he does that, I think Texas has a real good chance. But I agree. It feels like a close game tomorrow into the fourth quarter at the stadium. It's a good one. It's one of many Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 will at least get some clarity with a 5-way tie atop the standings right now. We got this game that someone's coming out of it 5-1. One's going to be 4-2. Same with Bedlam. Yep. Somebody will be 5-1. And then, the Kansas. What do you think about that Kansas-Iowa State game? Kansas has got Jason Bean. It doesn't look like Jaden Daniels is ready.
I was going to say, I don't know if he's coming back this year.
Sounds like a back problem that's just not getting better for him. And
I think he might be done, which is crazy. I mean, you're talking about a preseason pick for Offensive Player of the Year, and they don't have him available, and they're still winning games. That's how far along that Kansas program has come.
That's a night game in Ames. Yeah, it has. And they just beat Oklahoma. I mean, they're like, what?
With the
backup football?
Quarterback.
In football? What?
With the backup quarterback.
It goes all the way back to the Big 8 days. We beat them in football? What? But I would say this to the other side of that night game in the Big 12. If Iowa State beats Kansas, that'll be a message that, hey, don't forget about us in Ames. The Longhorns go to Fort Worth next week, and then they've got to go to Ames.
That would be scary just because Texas would have to go a true road game, right? Even out of the state against Matt Campbell. And Matt Campbell, he's such a weird coach, kind of like Tom Herman to me, where when he's best as an underdog.
Yes.
When he can, when his teams are counted out, when he can do more with less. But when he had his best, most talented team. Look at all these guys in the NFL. Brock Purdy, what he's doing, and Breece Hall and Charlie Kohler. I mean, they had a really talented squad that year. And that was one of his worst years because when the expectations are really high for coaches like that, it seems like that's when they underachieve overall. But when everybody's counted them out, like the gambling scandal they had there, and they had 5 starters that ended up being released from the team, and the starting quarterback ended up being at the center of that gambling scandal. And everybody counted him out and thought, oh, man, that's a disaster. Matt Campbell, man, you definitely should have cashed that lottery ticket when you had a chance and left and took the Detroit Lions job or took one of those other Power 5 jobs, and he didn't. And everybody thought, man, he's done. And he's not. And now he's found a way with this squad to do one of his best, perform at one of his best coaching jobs since he's been there.
Yeah, Kansas could go in there and win that game, and then it's not. But if they get to 5-1 with this group, it's like, wow. That game becomes really scary for the Longhorns.
But I can see him doing it because Jason Bean's still a backup quarterback.
And remember, Iowa State almost beat Texas last year. That was 24-21. And the Longhorns needed a Jalen Ford, Anthony Cook fumble force late.
Was it really that, or was it a dropped Xavier Hutchinson touchdown?
Yeah.
Busted coverage by Texas that won that game. Texas made some plays, but he literally dropped a touchdown.
No, it was very tenuous. That was a tenuous game last year.
It was like, ooh.
Here in Austin.
That was good stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, the other thing that feels good about for Texas is that they have become a fourth quarter team this year. So in a game that's close, I think you trust the DNA of this team this year, aside from the Oklahoma game. But even in that Oklahoma game, I thought for a majority of the 15 minutes of the quarter, they played really well. 2-minute drill, not good.
But see, that's the thing, though, E. They've been bad at 2-minute defense all season long. Haven't improved on that, so no reason to think they're going to improve on that. And then in the game, in the Oklahoma game, they found a way to win, not win, but actually go down and score a go-ahead touchdown in clutch time. But that was with Quinn Ewers at starting quarterback.
That's right.
Not a young Malik Murphy.
We just don't know what that's going to be.
We just don't know how that's going to look, man. The improvement. That's the big question mark right here that's keeping me from going, Texas wins this game. Of course they do.
Yeah. No, it's a backup quarterback. You're right.
It's a backup quarterback.
You're right. You just don't know what happens if he gets in, because this is not going to be the BYU 35-6 game.
No.
This will be a game that you've got to go win in the fourth quarter, and you just don't know what that young guy's going to do. So I say, Sark, saddle up your running game. Saddle up these running backs and get after it.